Today, we talked to Karyn Stiles on the Keys to Your Legacy podcast. We talked about families, elders, about aging in place. We talked about how family members can avoid conflict. It was a really great conversation, and I'd encourage you to watch.
Welcome to the Keys to Your Legacy with your host, Elijah Keys.
Hi, Karyn. How are you today?
Good. Thanks.
It's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So you're a fiduciary. What does that mean?
A private professional fiduciary, we manage trusts and estates, so settle and administer, and very often actually are involved when clients are living also. So anytime someone does not have the ability to manage their own affairs financially, we can step in and help.
Why would someone need that? Don't people have family members or other people to help?
Many reasons. First, no, actually. A lot of people don't have children. If they do have family members, they're about the same age. And they could be living, they could be deceased, they could live in a whole other state. And that's just a little bit difficult for the older generation to handle. So family is not always a choice. And then you may know this, but family relationships can be complicated.
To say the least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a long history, and some people may not trust their siblings, have a good relationship with them, but even with their kids. We have a lot of clients who have several kids, but maybe they were never financially savvy. And that's just not something that their parents want to, one, burden them with or give them the responsibility.
Yeah, I totally get that. In fact, today I even met with some clients who there's conflict already between the kids. Dad is still living and two sisters and the one brother, they just don't get along. And I can see the end from the beginning.
Yeah.
If there's some sort of conflict, they're going to want a third party because otherwise it's brother and sister against brother and sister. It's just no good.
Yeah. Yeah. And even when you don't think there's very much conflict, when mom or dad pass away or get ill, not only are the kids mourning or grieving or struggling with taking care of all of these things, but then the relationship and the dynamics change. So you're not all of a sudden brother and sister, you're trustee and beneficiary. So sometimes even in my own family, I have two sisters, we get along very well. We're all good friends, but we're competitive. So, my parents had to choose very wisely on who was actually going to be the trustee. Yeah. So it's a decision not to take lightly for parents.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really hard thing. I can remember I've actually talked about this case on this podcast where we had 4 kids who were all equal trustees. And 2 of them were responsible and polite and kind and followed direction. And the other 2 basically lived on mom and dad for their entire lives. So you had 2 financially irresponsible people and 2 financially responsible. And you can see the end from the beginning, I'm sure. And they all hired lawyers and ended up the cost for that administration went up times 8. So 8 times the cost, which is not unheard of.
No. Yeah. And that's something that a lot of parents, they don't want to hurt someone's feelings. And so what they can name all of them. And that's actually one of the worst things because some trusts, both people have to agree, both people have to sign everything. And if you have one person living, a lot of things aren't paper anymore. And so having each co-trustee sign each document is extremely inefficient. In a perfect world, there's one trustee who communicates with all the siblings and gets just some information about them of what they would prefer to do. Communication is the best, but then only with one trustee.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I've heard that a lot of professional fiduciaries, that's your role. You're a professional trustee. So a licensed, bonded, insured trustee. That's your job. I have heard that many licensed trustees will not serve as co-trustee with a layperson. Is that true?
That's correct. We will serve, and other trustees may be different, but I think it's pretty common in the industry. We will serve with our client, the grantor of the trust, the person making the trust. we will serve as co-trustee because a lot of it, it's like an independence issue. And
Yeah.
we actually are doing everything. And then as they become a little bit more incapacitated, they don't do as much. And we're okay with being co-trustees with this person as long as the assets are safe.
Right.
But we will not be co-trustees with a child or a neighbor or sibling. And the reason for that is we pay a lot for liability insurance.
Okay.
And that opens up the doors for people to spend money how we wouldn't deem necessary, make decisions that we don't agree with. And they could actually, we could get in trouble for that. That's
Wait,
correct.
let me back up. You said that if you serve as co-trustee, you can get in trouble for the actions of the child trustee who's serving with you.
Yeah, because we are responsible for the trust assets. And if they are doing something that is incorrect, we should be involved. We should be making sure that the trust assets are safe. So we just don't open ourselves up to that type of liability. A lot of people ask us because I get it. We're a stranger. They have no idea who we are. And they just say, okay, we're just going to name you. And
The kids want to keep it in the family.
and so it's a lot of trust, but we always, and again, every fiduciary is different, but we always think full transparency. And if the parents want the kids to know everything that's going on in the trust, we will tell them. We provide statements and reports and include everybody in decisions. We have the ability to do that without giving the burden to that child. So that's how we tell clients we will not serve as co-trustee, but we do promise to keep them involved. Whoever that trusted person or trusted contact is, we will keep them involved.
What kind of training did you have to go through to become licensed fiduciary?
So I was a little bit different. I got my CPA license first, and my CPA license acts as a fiduciary license. It
Sure.
trumps the fiduciary license, so I'm a fiduciary.
As does attorneys. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I did go through the process of getting the fiduciary license just because. And so you have to have 5 years of experience working for a fiduciary. There's some education courses required, and then it's a test.
Okay.
But so that's it. There really isn't much.
But hang on, the 5 years experience, that gives me pause. Because if they require you to get 5 years experience to become licensed, that must mean that it's not so simple.
It's the education courses through through a college or 5
Right.
years experience.
Oh, I see. Either or.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for example, I had already been working with the fiduciary firm. I didn't take those courses.
Sure.
So even going the professional fiduciary route, getting licensed, I didn't need those courses. And that may have changed by now. That was a long time ago for me, but
I don't know. I looked at those rules a while ago to see if I wanted to become a professional fiduciary. And then I saw what you guys do and I said, no way. I'm not. That's not for me.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm pretty a typical CPA. I like to be in my office, not with other people. But
not with other people. I like to be alone the majority of the time. It's hilarious.
I am the typical CPA. But I had a really good relationship with my grandparents. And so I just loved being with this population, this elderly population that so often is targeted for fraud, for abuse. And so I love it. And I can do the financial stuff easily. That comes easily. But yes, we are out in the field dealing with this fraud, hoarders, houses filled with pigeons, whatever it may bring, we are supposed to handle it. Yeah. So there's a lot and some things that are just hard to see and walk through that you have to do comes with it.
Yeah, there were a couple of times that I had to go to a client's house and had to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Just because it stinks so bad.
Yeah.
It was just dogs and cats.
We have hazmat suits for our employees, and because so often we've had a cat woman that had 30 plus feral cats.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And so we've learned a lot about how animal control works, when they'll come
I'll
out and
bet.
when they won't. But yeah, there is a lot, and we keep hazmat suits and masks
Yeah.
because there are such dirty things that you have to go
Yeah.
into.
Yeah. And for the person that lives there, it's frog in the pot. You go into someone's house who just barely, who can get around, but they can't get around very much. And it's a
Yeah.
bunch of garbage bags by the back door. And they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to take those out. I just don't feel so well. And then something goes bad. And then none of the garbage gets taken out. And now it's ever all over the house. Yeah, it's just a frog in the pot.
And that's hard from a fiduciary standpoint. Our job, we have to be a little bit sensitive when we come in. We don't want to be some ruler that comes in and says you have to live this way. We're walking into people that have lived maybe alone or by themselves for many years, and they have their ways.
Yeah.
But we also have the duty to make sure that they're safe, and gradually and easily allowing them to make these habits change is really the goal, because it's hard. A lot of family members are like, just go in there and do this. And so you can't do that. It still is their home. It's where they feel comfortable. It can get pretty complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really the concerns of the person in charge, right? So if dad's still in control, it's dad's decisions that have to be respected.
Right.
A lot
Right.
of adult children, they just don't have patience for their parents and what their parents are going through. And I have a lot of clients and family members who have lost ability over time. And it's such a depressing thing for them that I can't drive anymore. Now I can't go anywhere without anybody else. Now I can't leave the house.
Yeah.
And for those individuals, in my opinion, they need to be given the time and attention and acceptance that they need to understand that they have lost a major part of their lives.
Right.
If you can't drive anymore, imagine not being able to drive to the store. You
Right.
can't drive to the store anymore. You have to get delivery, and that might not be so bad, but you don't know how to use a computer. And you can't drive there anymore. You can't do the things that you have been doing for 50 years on your own. And one of your snotty kids is now telling you that you have to do it this way, and screw you, I'm going to do it the way I want to.
Yep. Yeah. And I think kids, even thinking with my relationship with my mom, we are a lot more comfortable with our own parents.
Yeah.
I would never treat my clients like I treat my mom. I come into my mom's house, I'm like, that needs to go, that needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can't do that with clients. And it has to be a compassionate outlook on it, and getting them
Right.
to just gradually accept this change in their ability to get things done.
Yeah, that's always the hardest part. Hardest part is coming to acceptance. I remember my own mother, and I don't want to talk too much about her here because I don't want to out her in any way. But I remember her saying one day she had this huge dog, this 110-pound beast who like pulled
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time. And she's not a large woman, right? And so her dog died, and I was really sad for her, and I sat with her through a lot of that. And then she wanted a new dog. And I said, all right, what kind of dog are you going to get? And she said, oh, probably a small dog. And I said, that's great. And then she came home with a 120-pound guard dog. And I asked her,
Yep.
why did you choose this dog? And she said, he needed a home and no one else would give him a home. And I thought, that's fantastic. I'm glad you have a dog, and I'm glad he's so good with you and good with the kids and good with everything. But he's 120 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I don't want to tell she's probably going to listen to this. So she's probably going to be mad that I talked about it, but I don't want her to feel like, this is me talking to her. I don't want her to feel like I'm telling her what to do. Right. I'm as her son, I'm worried about her.
Yeah.
And I want her to feel comfortable in her own skin and in her own home. But at the same time, I don't want the dog to pull her down and drag her down the street for half a block before it takes off after the garbage truck, because her dog likes to chase garbage trucks.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So, yeah. So it's okay. What do you do in the future? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd say from our standpoint, in situations like those, we do our best to find a way around that. What's
Right.
the danger? So she may be fine to walk her dog right now, but maybe eventually she has a dog walker. Find something in the middle so she can have that dog and also safely walk it. I will tell you, we've had a lot of small dogs cause issues for clients too.
Really?
Like they get their feet and they fall. So
Yeah.
You're at a loss in either direction.
Yeah.
You can
Well,
tell your mom I said that.
yeah, that's okay. It is what it is. I was worried about the first concern, which is, is the dog safe on a leash? And then I
Right.
guess the next concern as well, is the dog safe in the house? And then the next concern is, can you care for the dog so that it can go outside? Is it not going to go in the house? Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
always a
Just
problem.
making adjustments as somebody needs it
Right.
is the most important. And we get that a lot. Some of my clients, we say, oh, maybe let's do this. And they'll say, why would I do that?
Yeah.
Well, just to make it a little safer. But going back, it's their way. They've been an adult for a long time and they've been making their own decisions for a long time.
Mm.
And having someone else inserted to try to
Yeah.
tell them what's safe or not is
Yeah.
difficult.
You look fairly young. I think that must be somewhat difficult to tell elderly clients. I think that you should do it this way. Do you ever have problems
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah. We do. But again, it's tricking them. I hate to say it, but just not
Yeah.
maybe tricking is the wrong word, but almost negotiating.
I think that's
Um,
probably the word, negotiating.
yeah, negotiating. And, why don't you just try this? Try it. If
Mhm.
you don't like it, we can pull it. That's something that's really important to all of us in our firm is that we
Right.
want people to keep their independence and we don't want to come in and just push all these rules.
Right.
And we take that risk. If there are safety concerns that we're probably a little bit on the riskier side and like, well,
Sure.
this is what they want and we'll do what we can to offset those risks. But
Yeah.
ultimately it's their life. And so I often bow down and unless it's a real safety concern, I often let them do what they wish.
I think the word that comes to mind is the movie, the Tom Clancy Tom Clancy book, Clear and Present Danger. Right. I used to
Oh
be on
yeah.
this Tom Clancy kick where I loved all of his books. And so Clear and Present Danger. And
Yeah.
so if there is a present danger, if someone's a danger to themselves, or definitely then that change needs to happen. But until
Yeah.
then, it's always really hard with somebody who's lived independently and they don't want somebody else to tell them how to live their lives. And I get that.
Yeah.
I don't want people to tell me how to live my life. Right.
Yeah.
But then they're a danger, not necessarily to other people, but they're a danger to themselves. And they say, what does this matter? I'm a danger to myself. And talk a little bit about what happens if someone loses the ability to manage their own affairs. What do you have to do?
Yeah. So this, but the first step is having the right estate planning documents in place.
Sure.
So that means will, a trust, a power of attorney for finance, and a power of attorney for healthcare or an advanced
Right.
healthcare directive. All of those things are very important. And a lot of people say, oh, I have a will. It's like, do you have more than that? So you do want to have all of them. And
Yeah.
typically we get either written into these documents and people meet us or don't meet us before. And a family member, a lot of neighbors are the ones really to be on the front line to notice if the neighbor is going downhill and declining and needing help. So a lot of neighbors reach out to us and just say, hey, I think Bob, is starting to forget things and he got lost in a walk one time, or they'll just tell us something and we'll go meet with them. And that's a scenario where if they're resistant to us becoming involved, we may offer to be co-trustees just to gradually come in and we act on the financial side and also the medical side. And some clients are both, some are just finance. But no matter what, we're pretty involved in medical, no matter what. And there could be a big event, a fall, a surgery, something that happens that we become involved, or it could be that gradual where a family member is, I think it's time for you to help. And at that time, we work with the client, or if they really have no capacity and they can meet us 5 times and don't really understand what's going on, then we just come in and we start taking over their affairs and they really don't even notice.
Yeah.
A lot of clients do, and we keep them as involved as we can, giving them reports and things like that.
Yeah.
And then essentially we act as them. We pay all their bills, we manage their health care. And then some clients, we don't become involved until after they pass away, where just really the trust or the will is needed. So there are lots of different ways we can become involved. And sometimes we're named as successor to the successor, second in line. And a lot of it is that person who is a trusted friend or neighbor or sibling or child. and they'll call and they'll say, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this. It's way more work than I thought it was going to be.
It's so much work.
And I need help.
Yeah.
And we always do offer that to people when clients are struggling, not naming a family member.
Yeah.
I always say, name them first. Put your child and just let them know that the person behind them, they can call at any time. And we can't give them advice and we can't tell them what to do, but we can talk to them about it, give our opinions, and let them know that they have a way out.
Yeah.
And it's very simple way out where they can still be involved, but they don't have to do all the heavy lifting.
It's interesting. It takes someone of a particular quality to do all that stuff. It's not easy, right? It really takes a lot of empathy, putting yourself into other people's shoes. That raises a question for me that who is Karyn Stiles? Who are you?
I would say, you say that it's difficult. It doesn't really seem difficult to me. We see these difficult things, but we have cleaned up so many cases where the client we come in, they're a hoarder, they're living with cats, they haven't showered in a year.
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, they're thriving, they're socializing. Maybe they moved into a assisted living and they're just thriving there. So I think the positive outcomes really outweigh the negatives or the difficulties.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's any different from anybody else. It's just a general human, it's compassion for other human beings and making sure, understanding their dignity issues and making sure that they keep their dignity intact. I think that's really, I'm just in it every day, but I think that's really a normal quality of all humans. I just have to deal with it every day.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's I hope it's pretty standard for most humans.
I think you're right. I think it is standard for most people. I just think that most people don't think about the rules, right? They don't think about the lines.
Yeah.
It's just not a daily part of their life. They don't think about the lines of helping people who are losing capacity over time, who are losing ability. How do you treat them with dignity and respect rather than treating their situation as most convenient to yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think patience is a huge thing. We go and we have the same conversation with people over and over again. And that's okay because I know what they're interested in. So I can bring up real estate or cats or
36 cats.
Yeah. Yeah. Or their dog or whatever makes them happy. I know already what makes them happy. And a lot of the times I come in and they don't know who, and I'll remind them and I'll ask them, tell me about your job. We've met some super cool people, and especially women in this area, a lot of really smart women who were the first women to work with Stanford or NASA. It's just super cool people. And they love talking about it. So just having this conversation that I know what they're going to say, but they enjoy it and they don't remember that they've already told me. And so to them, it's just a positive experience and it lifts them up a little bit. So that part's really easy. Definitely we've had some struggles, some people not wanting to move and we're moving them and they're distraught. And I think just making them feel as comfortable as possible. Yeah. Sometimes it just takes you putting your hand on their back or giving them just a little hug, letting them know that you're there. And so, it can be difficult, but most of the time these scenarios turn out really well.
Well, I mean, compassion and empathy, understanding and foresight are definitely things that you talked about. I asked you a question. I didn't mean it tongue in cheek. I meant really to wonder, who is Karyn Stiles? Who are you? Yeah. I know you're a CPA, but what else about you?
Well, I grew up around here. I had a really good relationship with my grandparents, and that's a family dynamic that was stressed in my family. Just having a good family relationship was the most important thing that my parents taught us. That's important. It's never going away. And so those things are very important to me. I'm pretty business oriented. I like to get things done. I get made fun of we could be in the middle of a really nice dinner with family. And I'll be like, has everyone checked their trust lately?
You and I have the same thing going.
Yeah, but it's all for to make sure that they're set up, to make sure that they're okay, to make sure they're doing the right thing. And those conversations come easily for us, but for other people, they're like, I don't want to think about death. So, I thoroughly enjoy this. And then I also have an adventure side. I love to travel. I love to hike. I love to be outdoors. And so I definitely get my time away for sure. And then I also love volunteering. I'm on the board to a couple charities, heavily involved in one. And I just think that's just a really important thing, to just be involved and helpful to the community around us. And we're inserted into this community, and we a desire to make it the best that we can is,
Right.
I think, really important.
I think that's true. So just looking at your background, you've talked now twice about your grandparents, how you were really close to them, and that you really believe in strong families and family dynamics. Does that mean that your core motivation here, other than seeing all numbers, all ciphers neatly in a row? I think that was from Mary Poppins, right? Where they're talking about a banker, where they said all ciphers neatly in a row. But other than a CPA, does that mean that your motivation for yourself, at least in your position, is more to try to help people maintain independence and maintain strong relationships for themselves? Is that your focus?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I've never so deeply thought about it, but yeah, that is the positive outcome that I enjoy seeing. And it's tough in this industry because a lot of these family relationships are irreparable.
Yep.
And I spend my time going after family members, in litigation. And so it's really hard. But ultimately, yes, we do strive. If a parent can live with a child instead of living in assisted living, that's probably really cool.
That would be better. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And obviously it depends on this where and how, but we do try to keep those family connections close. And
Yeah.
it's hard to say because people can just be so ugly too. Some kids are like, if you pay for me to come out there, I'll come visit my mom. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Yeah, you're one wonderful child for paying you an hourly wage to come out and see your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's not necessarily like a fee, but paying
sure.
for all travel, but those things I think are really important. And if it comes with a good visit from a family member,
Yep.
that leaves our client feeling important and
Yeah.
valued, I think that's a really good thing. Yeah, family dynamics and just the relationship is really important. Sometimes we can't help that. But in turn, we become that person's family. We are the people, we have 2 care managers on our staff. Between them and the fiduciary, we are the people that they see.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're the only people that they see. And I always say, everyone, our care managers, everyone that works here is sweet and nice and cute and can go and have a conversation and make it fun for them.
Yeah.
And that's important. Just quality of a visit.
Absolutely. And it's not going to take advantage of them.
No.
Yeah. I had a conversation with clients last week where they were explaining what happened to their mother before she passed. And there was a realtor who came over, and the realtor basically finagled her into naming the realtor in her trust. And now the realtor is aggressively pursuing everyone and saying, I'm supposed to be the new trustee, even though the family members are before him. And he's just trying to get money.
Yeah.
And just someone who just is a parasite.
Yeah,
I would feel,
that's elder abuse.
yeah, I don't want to have to go there, but we might have to.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that people like you are in the position, basically, not just to take care of money, because that's important, but just to be a friendly person who isn't going to take advantage of someone who's elderly. Because that happens too much. It happens far too much.
Yeah. And that's probably my background with being a CPA. My favorite thing about this job, one of my favorite things is the forensic accounting.
Oh, sure.
And oftentimes we get involved when people are already in trouble. And I cannot stand financial elder abuse or elder abuse, any type. But that is what I love the most.
Happens a lot.
Coming up with this number and saying, here are the facts. Here are facts. And here's a number that you stole from this innocent person,
Yep.
whether they have 100,000 or 12 million. It doesn't matter.
No.
It's their money. And that's one of my favorite things is these forensic reports and coming up and just saying, nope, you owe us that money back.
Yep.
But yeah, it's sad because it's one of the top crimes is elder
Elder abuse.
abuse. And
Yep.
it's even, I was in a bank for a client and a friend from elementary school, her grandpa was in there in front of me and he wouldn't have known who I was. So I didn't say anything. And he's telling the teller, my son's in Mexico and he needs me to wire him money. And it's these tiny little scams.
Yep.
And it's horrible. I can't stand it. And that's
Yeah.
unfortunately how we become involved because someone was conned and maybe conned one too many times. And so then we become involved. So they're still pretty with it and they still need their independence and have their independence, but
Right.
they made some mistakes because they were trying to help somebody. But yeah, it's a crazy world we live in and anything that I can do to prevent that. Or a lot of these foreign scams, your money's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
I was able to save it once. I'll tell you the story if you want to hear
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, I was able to stop it
Love
once.
to know how.
Yeah, it can't be with Bitcoin. I wasn't able to stop it last week with Bitcoin, but I was able
Yeah.
to stop it in the past where the transfer had been made. And so I called the FBI and the transfer had been made 72 hours. No, it was 36 hours prior. And the FBI said, call the Secret Service because they can stop it if it's been a wire transfer or a money transfer, not a Bitcoin, that doesn't work, but a money transfer within 72 hours. And I called the Secret Service and I got them on the third day, but before the third day was over. So we were able to stop the transfer.
Yeah.
But that was 1 out of 50.
That's
And
awesome to know. The hard thing is that most people
don't know that.
The clients don't want to tell anybody that they did that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're embarrassed.
They're embarrassed. And most of the time they don't tell anybody for weeks or and one
months.
time like a CPA client gave away millions and he just told the CPA, not even his kids, he just didn't want to tell anybody. And then the CPA was like, that's a problem.
Yeah, and these scams, they don't start big, they start small and they sink you for more money and more money. And then it's just their psychology is just intensely good. They're so good at psychological manipulation for people. And they're like, what is your son going to say when he learns about this? Just pay me more money and I'll get it to you. Oh, I'm sorry, there's another problem. Oh, I'm sorry. It's all just made up.
Yeah.
It's all made up.
And they'll take what you're saying, the person, and like he was suspicious. So he said, I'm calling the FBI. Then they pretended to be the FBI. And he paid the FBI a retainer to catch. So it goes on and they take what you're saying and go with the flow and then pretend to be the bank or it's horrible. And we're seeing it more and more. A lot of people want to stay in their homes when they're elderly, which works for a lot of people and it's great. It can be great. A lot of the times it can be dangerous because with kids that are working full time and have their own kids, they may not come to visit very often. And then you have a person that's sitting at home lonely and they'll go online and try to talk to somebody online. And that's where the scams start too. So it is quite literally all over the place.
Yep.
And I always tell people, talk to your parents about finances. It's such a conversation that has been deemed not dinner talk, which is fine. But it's really important.
Why not? It doesn't make any sense to me why it's not an open discussion. It really should be.
Yeah.
In some cultures it is, in ours it's not. We have my mother who's retired and my father-in-law, my wife's father, who's retired. And he comes over for dinner every Friday and she comes over every Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And we spend time with them and we talk to them. Yeah. And I take out
people
those
aren't so lucky.
kids.
Some people are in different areas and
that's right.
That's hard to do. But even a phone call, just having a conversation, keeping in touch, being open and just saying, do you need any help? How are your finances? How's your Medicare? Did you get your Medicare set up for this year or check on it? Just simple little check-ins are really important. And actually, I don't know if Warren Buffett came out with a letter recently. I don't know if you saw it, but really how he redid his will and how he keeps his children involved. And I think they're really good points to just talk to your kids, talk to the beneficiaries, make sure they know what's in the will
Right.
or in the trust. Sometimes keeping it secret is not always the best route.
It's not.
So
No, keeping things secret. If the bomb drops, if somebody has unmet expectations, it's so bad. If parents were just to have an open conversation with their children about what they want when they die, and then their trust or their will, whatever it is, matches that conversation,
yeah,
it's so much better. It's
yeah,
so much better because people have arguments because of unmet expectations. I expected this or I
right.
expected this. Now, unmet, if people feel that they deserve something, that's not an expectation, that's an entitlement. So unmet entitlements you can't help, can't prevent, but an unmet expectation you can as a parent.
Which we are dealing with.
And more and more. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely entitlement.
yeah,
Karyn, we only have a few minutes left, so I want to pepper you with a couple of last minute questions if I could,
sure.
please. We probably should have handled these at the beginning to learn who you are, but here we are.
Oh,
What is your favorite book or a book that you've read recently that you really enjoyed?
I was actually given this book to read, and I was really happy. But Unreasonable Hospitality.
I've read that
Um,
book. It's very, very good. Mhm.
Very good. It does connect the business world with personal,
It does.
how to treat people.
Yep.
So I really enjoyed it.
It's, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the story of someone who opened a new restaurant and became one of the best restaurants in the world within 2 or 3 years. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
And
interesting because you never think when you go to a restaurant, all these tiny little,
details.
things that they do and how much effort they put into it.
Yep.
And he was a restaurant manager for a long time and he went through managing and then opening and relationships along the way. But yeah, it's super interesting and just a total different outlook on that industry, business as a whole, but also those personal relationships and,
Right.
coworker relationships, things like that. It's really, I loved it.
That's good. I'm glad. What is your, let me look here. Let me check my list. What inspires you? I think we've already talked a little bit about that, about your grandparents, but
Yeah.
what inspires you other than that?
I think it comes from a deep desire to perform and make people happy, but I always making people proud.
Okay.
And my sisters and I are all quite competitive, which I think is a good thing, can be a good thing.
Can be.
But just they inspire me to do better. And family as a whole, having all of these conversations that we just talked about open and how we can just become better people. I mesh my family life and my work life, and it's just my life. They're not separated. And so making them better for myself and all the people around me is really important. Having my family there to inspire me and to challenge me really is a big deal.
Well, that's great. Karyn, it's been great talking to you. I got your name right this time. It's
Yes.
I got it right. It's Karyn. Yeah.
Did.
I've been mispronouncing it for years. Karyn and I have shared many cases over the years and had shared clients, and she's just fantastic. So if Karyn, someone wants to contact you, if they want to learn about you, where do they go?
Our website is lasanfiduciary.com. It's very long, or Googling it. We're a fiduciary in San Mateo and work all over California and also have clients outside of the state. And our email is on the website and our phone number is there too. So if someone wants to chat, happy to chat.
Your information will be in the show notes as well so that they can
Okay.
go and contact you. But
Great.
thank you everyone who watched for showing up today. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below. And if you'd like to follow along, you can find us wherever podcasts are found. You can find information about my firm, Keys Law Group, in the show notes. And we would invite you to like and subscribe so that you never miss an episode and we can help you start developing the keys to your legacy. Thanks so much.
You've been tuning into The Keys to Your Legacy with your host, Elijah Keys. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, keyslawgroup.com. Thank you for your positive